Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today I'll be covering Uncanny X-Men 186, published in 1984 by Marvel Comics. This is a special double-sized issue, as the cover indicates, Life, Death, a Love Story. And indeed, this is a pretty incredible issue. As we dive in, we can see our credits. Chris Claremont script, Barry Windsor-Smith pencils, both of them credited with the story. Terry Austin, inker. Glennis Wayne and Christy Shield, colorist. Tom Orzechowski, letterer. And Ascenti editor, Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. And this one is going to be a feast for the eyes, folks. It is gorgeous. Once upon a time, there was a woman who could fly. So we have Storm here on this gorgeous splash page. Just look at the texture on these silk sheets. It's just unbelievable. This is Barry Windsor-Smith at really a high level with his art here. And the storytelling in this, the panel arrangement, the colors, everything, even though this is standard newsprint, is just dynamite. So basically what has happened is Storm, in issue 185, the previous issue, was struck by Forge's neutralizer, and Forge has rescued her and brought her back to his Dallas complex to try and nurse her back to health. Basically, Storm has been stripped of her powers. How are you feeling this morning? I brought you some herbal tea and hot broth, my mom's recipe, the Cheyenne equivalent of chicken soup. She swears by it, guarantees it'll cure anything. Come on, lady, you need to eat. You can't just lie there and waste away. Aurora, do you hear me? Curse you, woman. I won't let you die, no matter how much you think you want it. You're going to live, Aurora, if I have to force you every bloody step of the way. And just the absolute resignation in this panel, a wordless panel, but with the depth of her expression here, you can tell just how hopeless she feels, stripped of her powers. And this is a very cool visual representation of Forge's Airy, his downtown Dallas office building that he chooses to headquarter himself in. He is a mutant himself with the ability to invent anything he needs to solve a problem. He also, it will be revealed, possesses some magical powers as well. And he's also quite taken with Storm, Aurora. Lord, she's beautiful. Storm controlled the elements. With a soul as lovely as her body, the personification of life itself. She changed last year. Her goddess-like serenity gave way to an all-too-human passion and made her lovelier than ever. Now, because of me, that's over. The beauty gone forever. So we see a recap of what happened in issue 185, where Storm and Rogue were being hunted by professional jerk Henry Peter Gyrich, who uses Forge's experimental neutralizer to blast what he thought was Rogue, but turned out to be Storm as she pushed Rogue out of the way while they were trying to rescue this boat in a stormy sea or a stormy river. I managed to reach Storm and drag her safely ashore. That was not a kindness, Aurora. You should have let me drown. So now, meanwhile, Professor Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters in Salem Center, New York, half a continent away. Herr Professor, I've tried my best, Nightcrawler. Cerebro has amplified my psi scan to its fullest extent, but I cannot find her. So they're searching for Storm. Professor, was what you felt Aurora's death? I wish, my friend, I could say no. However, let's assume she's still alive and somehow shielded from my probes. She left the mansion in search of Rogue. I'll scan for her. Perhaps she can lead us to Storm or tell us of her fate. Dallas, Texas, Eagle Plaza. Forge, is there any word of Rogue? Henry Gyrich and his team have been searching the river downstream from where she landed. Without success, she either drowned or escaped. Rogue is a resourceful young woman. I would say the latter. What brought the two of you together, anyway? She's a crook, part of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. No longer. Besides, she and I have much more in common than you suspect, such as, when I was half her age, I was the best pickpocket and thief in Cairo. You're kidding me. No. My portaconsole, it was in my back pocket. Child's play. You certainly haven't lost your touch. I suppose I should be grateful. It's a human skill, something earned. The neutralizer did not affect it. Forge, could we have a floor, please? I find all this open space a bit unnerving. So Aurora is really struggling, dealing with the consequences of losing her powers and such a critical part of herself. Later on, Forge is swimming in this amazing pool, and I love the artwork here. It's sort of an understatement. The artwork through this entire double-size issue is incredible, but just the marks used by Windsor-Smith and Terry Austin here to show the water. Water is not easy to draw, and they do a really great job of depicting this scene in the pool here. And Storm shows up in a pretty cool bathing suit to join Forge for a swim. She easily beats him to the other side in spite of his head start. And that's when she realizes that Forge has been maimed in battle here. What are you, lady? Part fish? Let me catch my breath. Whew. You've a lovely laugh, Aurora. You should let people hear it more often. May I help? I can manage, thanks. I've certainly gotten enough practice. Your leg. Great for walking, not so hot in the pool. You see, Aurora, I do understand. If not for my own knack at inventing, I'd be hobbling about on a steel pin and wearing a hook where my right hand used to be. I didn't believe it at the time, but I'm a lot luckier than most. Too many buddies came back unable to walk at all, some even to move, or they came home in boxes. Home from where? The war, Vietnam. So this is 1984. We're still close enough to Vietnam to have Forge's past linked to service in Vietnam. Now, of course, if this was brought forward into the modern era, it would have to be Iraq or Afghanistan, I'm sure. But he explains a little bit more about what happened. Meanwhile, Caldecott County, Mississippi. Welcome back, Dr. Cooper. How was Washington? Lousy, Phil. Evidently, Storm unleashed so much energy when the neutralizer hit her. She burned out the mutant scanner the Avengers gave us. Considering the circumstances, I doubt Forge will loan us his. He angry? You don't want to know. Your day any better? Afraid not. I think we just lost Rogue. There are just too many places along the river to hide out. Net spread too thin. What about that other mutie, the one carted off by Forge? Gyrick said he'd deal with her. So we have this government operative, Phil, who's not really a very nice guy, and he's about to meet an extremely terrible fate. I recently just read an issue of Rom with the Dire Wraiths, and they play a huge part in this. And this is one of the female, I believe, the female Dire Wraiths, and they're the ones who have that scary barb. Human, the Dire Wraith says as she surprises him. And this is how they basically steal someone's identity. They basically kill them by just sucking their brain out through a puncture in the forehead and then assume their identity. Very grisly. And Rom doesn't show up in this issue, fortunately, so it can be easily included in any collections. But here we have Val Cooper back in her hotel room. Phil? Oh, sorry, I was in the bath. Anything wrong? We must talk, Val. It's urgent. Sure, come on in. Make yourself comfortable while I throw on some clothes. That won't be necessary. Hey, in a moment, you will be beyond all earthly concerns. What are you... God, you've shown such interest in Dire Wraiths, Val. Tonight, you will become one. So, more Dire Wraiths have shown up, but luckily, the quote-unquote criminal that they're looking for, Rogue, has shown up to bail Val Cooper out. And possessing all the powers of Ms. Marvel, she is able to easily defeat these Dire Wraiths in physical combat. Don't you recognize me, Doc? After all the trouble you've gone to hunting me down like a mad dog, I'm Rogue. And truth to tell, I really hate doing this. If ever anyone deserved being left to her fate, Val, darling, it's you. But this is an incredible action panel. There's not a ton of action in this particular issue, even though it's double-sized. But, man, the action that there is, Windsor-Smith and Terry Austin really deliver on. Look at this incredible shot of her kick blasting this dire wraith out of the hotel, through the wall, and into these parked cars. Just incredible. The force of Rogue's attack quite naturally distracts the wraiths. Val Cooper makes the most of her golden opportunity. So, being pretty resourceful, she's able to overpower this wraith in its human form. I thought I'd seen ugly critters in my time, but you clowns are in a class by yourself. That wraith hasn't a chance. Then it'll be my turn. I've got to get out of here, but first I need some answers. What did you want from me, alien? Talk. No. If this attempt fails, tomorrow's will succeed. Eventually, Val, you and your precious world will be ours. Great close-up on his face, the blood-spattered face there, really cool. And she puts an end to him. Afraid I'll have to cut this short, yucko. But the government lady and me have got some unfinished business. So another sort of off-panel outcome of the force that Rogue is able to unleash. Interesting here that she is punching, I'm assuming she punches this wraith with a closed fist, but isn't able to absorb its powers or identity as she normally does, maybe because of its alien nature, or maybe just off panel she kicked it instead of punching it. No, here we go here. I forgot about this part of the story. She did punch him, and so this is the outcome. Ah! She cries out. Fool. Forgot, wasn't wearing costume, no gloves. When our bare flesh touched, I absorbed its abilities, memories, identity. Monster so powerful, trying to take over. Must fight back, hold on to self. But which self? Mine? Humans? I'm human. Less than animals, fit only for slaughter. Rogue. I've established a mind link, Nightcrawler, but her thoughts so alien and vile. Insatiable hunger, lust for death, destruction, overwhelming psychic defenses. Is he speaking of Rogue or himself? Draw what strength you can from me, mine here. Help Rogue if you can. So, meanwhile, Val Cooper's trying to get away. What a mess. This must be where Phil was ambushed. A chopper. But is it friend or foe? So, pretty cool here. Val Cooper is fairly resourceful and almost gets away, but Rogue catches up with her. Scared, Doc? I'm glad. I hope this hurts. I want you out for a while, Val, and I don't want you calling your troops before you've found Roro. A few minutes contact should keep you on ice till morning. Ugh, my wraith self keeps expecting you to disintegrate. Eating brains really turns these yuckos on. Thank heaven its presence is already starting to fade. So she draws what information she can by absorbing Val's psyche for a short time. And she finds out that Storm has been stripped of her powers, which is a pretty terrible outcome. Meanwhile, back at the Eyrie, Storm, in this absolutely beautiful scene here, tries on a dress left for her by Forge. And this is really where the two of them begin to kind of cement a bond. And Storm sees the effect that the dress has on Forge, and she's embarrassed and goes back and changes. I'm back. You've changed. This is more comfortable. Aurora, I didn't mean to upset you before. It's just you caught me off guard. Are you so ashamed of what you think and feel that you must hide those thoughts and emotions? Sometimes. I like my privacy. There's safety in solitude, even if occasionally I overdo it. Then my being here is a threat. Perhaps I should leave. Stay, please. I would like to. So they have a pretty intimate dinner, and things develop. I propose a toast to Crips and outcasts. Listen, do you hear thunder? The storm must have reached us. Why not press the yellow button and see? So that reveals the outside, and Storm is again unnerved. She's really suffering from the loss of her powers and identity as a mutant. Forge tries to comfort her, but keep in mind, Storm doesn't know that Forge invented the neutralizer that robbed her of her powers, but here is where she finds out. listening in on this phone conversation. I told you before, Gyrich. I'm best equipped to care for her. She trusts me. You're emotionally involved. That's right. You pulled the trigger. You shot Storm, but I designed the gun. No. What was that? Forge. Was somebody on the line? Forge. So now Aurora knows and feels betrayed, and she wants to get out of there. The sequences here showing his eyrie with the windows sort of revealed to the sky, and it's very much unnerving, but really well done by our art team here, showing the change in levels through the clear glass floors. And Storm loses her balance. And she activates another sequence. It's a Vietnam sequence, holographic projections of what happened to Forge in Vietnam. And this is so incredibly lush, these sequences. Look at this sequence, this panel here of Storm in the grass here in this holographic image. Just absolutely incredible. Really great job for our two colorists, Wayne and Sheil, on this one too. And of course, none of this would be possible without Tom Orzechowski working overtime, getting all of the letters of this incredibly verbose script in. This last panel here on page 35 is also incredible. Showing a far shot, almost an establishing shot of the actual building, the area where the all action is taking place, and just Storm crying out for help. And then an explosion. And Forge comes to try and clear things up. There's nowhere to run, Aurora. Have a care, Maker. The cornered animal is the most dangerous. I'm not your enemy, liar. The gun was never meant to be used. Not then, not like that. Then why was it built? It's my job. And you only follow orders, yes? I am no guinea pig, Forge, no toy for you to play with. I am a human being. Aurora, don't. Should I yield, Forge? Live out my days in hope and slavery? I prefer freedom. No one will hurt you, Aurora. I give you my word. Which is worth nothing. Besides, the damage has already been done by you. I'm sorry. And that automatically puts everything all right? What do you want me to do? Turn the neutralizer on myself? I created the weapon. If there's a cure, I'll find it. I'm the only hope you've got. An empty gesture, Forge. The device affects only superpowers. My mind is my power. I'm just like you, Aurora, a mutant. Of all your lies, that is very nearly the cruelest. If I was the swine you think I am, lady, I'd have let Gyrich have you from the start. Instead, you have merely delayed the inevitable. I can protect you. Are you blind, or do you think me an utter fool? All you learn from me will be told to Gyrich, who will then use it, with or without your help, and certainly not your permission, to subjugate or destroy mutant kind. Our people, Forge, does that mean nothing to you? What else did you sacrifice with your heritage? Honor, decency, humanity? And to think, I wanted to impress you. I wore that silly gown. I unburdened my heart to a man who could care not less. Who has forgotten how, if indeed he ever knew? Aurora, stay away from me. Great shot of her punch here. You poor, pathetic man. Feel better? No, less hurt. No less angry. You live in your high tower, untouched, untouchable, surrounded by illusion, so terrified of real living world. You cannot bear to violate the sanctity of your space, even with something as small as a flower. Your home is a true reflection of its creator, cold, cruel, sterile, and ultimately a deception. An ideal world wherein the master of lies can feel safe and secure. You're wrong. I'm not like that. Lie to me, if you must, not to yourself. I cared for you, Aurora. I still do. I always will. You asked for my trust, Forge, yet give none in return. What of your hopes and fears and dreams have you told me? Even if I accept your words and give free rein to my feelings, what shall I do when you betray them in me? I won't. To be loyal, you must believe in something, anything. You are hollow form without substance. You cannot believe because there is no you. You've no right to judge. Then prove me wrong. We are much alike, Forge. I see in you a me that might have been. I choose to walk another road. My feet may never leave the ground, but someday I shall fly again. Fantastic. Great story. A seminal work in the history of the Uncanny X-Men. Brilliantly delivered by Claremont, Windsor-Smith, Terry Austin, and the rest of the crew. And it would be followed in issue 198 with Life, Death 2, which is sort of another installment of Storm's road back. And eventually in the 220s, somewhere between 220 and 225, I believe Storm gets her powers back. Thanks in part to Forge, who, even though Storm wouldn't believe it at the time, is in fact a mutant. Well, I hope you enjoyed that brief read-through of X-Men 186. I sure did. And if you did, please like and subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll bring you more soon on Scott Reads Comics. Thanks for watching.